there, welcome back to my channel and welcome to part 2 of the horror story that is Diddy's trial week 2. All right, so if you haven't had an opportunity to take a look-see after you watch this one, because it doesn't really have to be consensual order, it's just certain highlights that have happened throughout the week for week 2 that'll be shared here in these parts. But make sure you do get a chance to take a look at the previous one that I uploaded about a couple hours ago, which started off the kickoff for the witnesses that actually have testified in week 2 of Diddy's trial. So now in this particular part 2, we're going to break down more of the details that are surrounding the LA restaurant incident that happened, I believe, in 2010. One that's been somewhat talked about in the social media streets somewhat before the trial even began. There had been some conversations about these things. And I think it also came more into focus when it came to Don Rickard's, which is formerly Danity King's member, and also Dirty Money as well, Diddy Dirty Money, something like that group as well, where she had provided a civil lawsuit and had to come to make some claims that, you know, basically backed up the things that Cassie was sharing about some of the things that she had dealt with during her really abusive and tumultuous relationship and time with Diddy. So in this particular part, we are just going to cover that incident in its totality. I don't think we have anything else to piggyback on in this part, but if we do, then you know it'll be covered. But for the most part, we're going to just be focusing on that actual LA incident, because one thing that was also alleged that there was other celebrities that were there who actually witnessed it. So let's see what those details were testified by Dawn during her cross-examination day, as well as maybe further testimony starting off the week 2 testimonies for the trial. So let's go ahead and get into that. So our sharing's coming to us by way of Deadline, and it shares: Sean Diddy Combs jury hears of Cassie Ventura's beating at LA restaurant attended by music superstars and execs. Now, after a very brief stint on the stand on May 16th at Sean Diddy Combs' trafficking trial, making the band vet Don Rickard returned today, or of that first day of the week, with more testimony of ABUSC and ASSAULT, both observed and experienced. He would punch her, choke her, drag her, slap her in the mouth. Dawn told the jury of the violence that she personally witnessed Combs frequently unleash against then-girlfriend Cassie Ventura. I saw him kick her, punch her in the stomach, the former Danity King singer told the Bad Boy Records founders as trafficking trial at the start of its second week, and Dawn says was on the stand for about 2.5 hours that day. So that's quite a bit of time, and that's in addition to what she spent on Friday prior. Now, asked by Assistant U.S. Attorney Mitzi Steiner what she did about the ABUSC against Ventura by her then boyfriend and record label boss, Dawn rather quietly admitted Monday morning, not much. She says, I made a decision that it would be best for the safety of myself to not interfere because I don't think that she was really ready to do anything. Dawn responded before Judge Iran and the jury in the lower Manhattan courtroom, noting that the Me and You singer not too subtly told Dawn that this was the price of doing business with Diddy. Still in a pivotal role as an actual witness to Combs' alleged violence and ABUSC, Dawn recollected to the jury of a 2010 incident in an LA restaurant where the defendant had popped Ventura straight in the face after the singer spoke about the beatings he had delivered. After the punch, Combs told Ventura to shut up, which he used an expletive there. And Richard said that the beatings continued in the car and on the way home after the dinner. Now, Dawn also told the court that along with herself, Ventura, and Combs, others at the dinner were Usher, rapper Neo, and then Interscope Geffen A&M Records CEO Jimmy Iovine. Now, under a short cross-examination, defense lawyer Nicole Westmoreland went after Dawn for never bringing up such high-profile participants at the dinner before. It was also hard to tell from Dawn's testimony if the trio of Usher, Neo, and Iovine actually saw the violence the witness says occurred. You would agree with me that as time progresses, your story changes, Westmoreland asked Dawn this morning rhetorically. And she says, yes. She says that As time progresses, I get better at knowing what went on because it was quite a long time ago. Later, under redirect from prosecutors, Dawn added the part of the reason she was sometimes uncertain on events was that during her time with Combs, the environment was volatile and it was very hard to work in. So she tried to erase those things. Every day it gets easier to remember certain things. I try my best to do it to the best of my ability. Now, having secured a contract with Combs via her participation in MTV's Making the Band show in 2004, Dawn first was with Danity Kane and then the trio Diddy Dirty Money. She exited working with the All About the Business performer in 2011. Today in the witness box, Dawn said she had reached out to Combs subsequently about getting Dirty Money back together, but it was for fellow singer Kalina Harper, who had fallen on rough times. Both singers appeared on Diddy's 2023 Grammy-nominated The Love album, Off the Grid. Also, if you are a watcher of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, I believe that Kalina Harper did a season to a season and a half on there as well a few years back. Dawn filed an ongoing civil lawsuit of her own against Combs late last year, as we are fully aware of, and in the suit, which has proven a complication during this criminal trial, because Dawn claims that Combs had assaulted her, deprived her of food and sleep, and refused to pay her fairly over years, as Ventura and others have also alleged in their own legal actions. Now, Dawn alleges that the mogul threatened to destroy her career if she did not comply with his demands and desires. You felt like Combs ruined your career not once, but twice, the defense Westmoreland queried Richards today. Yes, Dawn replied, conceding her career hasn't been as strong since Diddy pulled the plug on Danity Kane and Diddy Dirty Money. In regards to her own lawsuit, Dawn tried to refute the defense's contention that she wanted a lot of money. As the effective Westmoreland termed it, Dawn said she wasn't in it for the money, but did admit she felt she deserved to be compensated for what she went through with Combs professionally and personally over the time she was signed to his label. Now, predicted to last 8 weeks, the criminal trial of the much-accused Diddy follows his arrest last September on charges of racketeering, trafficking, transportation, and engaged in events of the night that you get paid for. It's illegal. It starts with a P. Incarcerated at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn since his arrest after a trio of failed $50 million bail attempts, Combs has always insisted he is innocent. He has taken the same stance in the dozen of civil suits of ABUSC and ASSAULT that have hit the court dockets over the past several months. Now, rejecting a plea deal from the government, Diddy could face life behind bars if found guilty in this criminal trial. Handled in less than an hour by the prosecution and passed over to defense, lawyer Westmoreland, the testimony from Dawn comes after an opening week that saw often grueling and frequently harrowing testimony from a very, very pregnant Ventura. Now, over the 4 days, the star witness went over and over text messages and sealed photos detailing the drug-driven and depraved freak-off marathons. Ventura claims Combs coerced her into doing those things with male escorts. Now, sometimes filmed, the freak-offs became the thrust of the couple's more than a decade-long relationship, with Combs allegedly using those threats of making the footage public as one of the many methods he used to control and manipulate Ventura. The extent of the predatory behavior became starkly evident when Ventura described how Combs allegedly arred her in the living room of her LA apartment in 2018, stating how Combs' eyes went black during the horrific attack. Ventura said the R followed what she thought at the time was a lovely closure conversation then the ex-couple had over dinner in Malibu over their breakout. With the feds and the defense meticulously going through the couple's relationship, a lot of time was spent by both sides examining the now infamous LA hotel security footage of Combs attacking and brutally kicking Ventura in 2016 as she tried to escape one of the freak-offs. In the tale of two realities, the prosecution has essentially treated the footage, portions of which were exclusively aired on CNN back in the spring of 2024, as a smoking pow-pow. Having declared that Combs was a heavy drug user and resorted to DV in their opening statement on May 12th, the defense tend to treat the damning footage as an example of consensual entanglement, noting that Combs did eventually let Ventura leave the Intercontinental Hotel. Already having secured a $20 million settlement, which we've covered quite extensively in last week's wrap-up. In her quickly resolved ABUSC and assault civil suit against Combs in November 2023, our Ventura was skillfully cornered right near the end of her last day on the stand by defense lawyer Ana Estebo, who got her into admitting she was also reached a $10 million settlement with the owners of the Intercontinental. The revelation, which brought gasps in the courtroom, played right into the defense's narrative that Ventura got a lot out of being with Combs and that she has become a potential gold digger since the couple broke up. Now, having never brought up the $10 million settlement before, Ventura and the prosecution walked right to the defense's trap. Certainly, the witness' passionate explanation was undermined that she'd given it back, the $20 million settlement from Combs, if I never had to have freak-offs. And if I never had freak-offs, I would have had agency and autonomy, and I wouldn't have had to work so hard to get it back. Always a contentious witness, due to her own ongoing civil suit against Combs, Dawn did score a win for the feds first thing in the morning. In a session before the jury was brought in, Judge Arun took the defense's objections into consideration and trimmed some of the prosecution's upcoming witnesses. However, when it came to Dawn, the judge allowed her testimony at the end of the May 16th day, where the singer detailed a 2009 violent attack on Ventura by Combs as Ventura was cooking, that she said she was literally standing right there when it occurred. And that's something that I referenced also in, I want to say, part 1 as well. Whether this comes to bite the prosecution in the long run remains to be seen, but certainly Dawn's presence is an addition to any continuance or appeal move the defense chooses to make down the line. Now, today, as they did to some extent with Ventura, the defense had spent time contesting Dawn's sense of the sequence of events of that 2009 event, saying at one point she told investigators that it was eggs and not a frying pan that Combs threw at Ventura in the attack of the Dirty Money singers that she saw. Would you agree with me that it's been hard to keep your story the same in reference to this egg incident? Defense attorney Westmoreland almost mocked. And in another instance of apparent inconsistency, Westmoreland said that Dawn never mentioned a verbal threat from Diddy of where he comes from. People go missing previously, but suddenly is saying it now. And that's also something I talked about in part 1 as well. Dawn told the court once again she was trying to remember things as best as possible, considering how long ago they occurred. In its own response, Ventura's days of testimony, the Mark Ivanfilia, Tenny Garagos, and Brian Steele-led legal team this weekend dropped a swath of defense exhibits online, primarily more of floods of texts and emails and photos about Combs and Ventura's volatile 2007 to 2018 relationship. The exhibits attempt to reinforce defense's core claim that the couple had a violent and unconventional sexual toxic relationship, but it was always consenting and no one broke the law. The rest of this second week of Combs' criminal trial will see Cassie Ventura's mother, which we will talk about in a future part for today, and former best friend Carrie Morgan, which I actually covered in part 1. We're also called as witnesses. There might be some information that we might give from Carrie Morgan's testimony in some of the future parts that I have for today's uploads, but definitely check out part 1 to get that full gamut for Carrie as well. Now, I mentioned several times last week and now estranged from Ventura, Morgan was allegedly choked and then hit in the head with a wooden hanger by an enraged Combs in 2018. There was a 5-figure payout to Morgan as a result of the choking and hanger assault, and a number of Combs' ex-staffers are expected to take the stand as well. And that includes those executive assistants, a couple that we mentioned in the part 1 as well. And there's going to be more to come as it regards to some of their specific testimony, that especially of Dave James, and I can't think of the other gentleman's name, but his name is Kaplan, I think was the last name. And so we'll be getting into like that in part 3, maybe part 4 as well, and some other details that will be more explanatory in some of the testimony that we've already kind of covered as well, but just kind of taking some points. And then obviously one of the 2 of the biggest witnesses elements as well is Cassie's mother had took the stand, as well as Kid Cudi, and we all really familiar probably with Kid Cudi's situation with the burnt out car and those threats associated with that. So we're going to get some increased details about that particular testimony that took place for both of them as well, and also some very troubling, obvious testimony from Cassie's mother. The fact that the strength that she had to be able to get up on that stand and to share the things that she has shared, it's just, oh, it's amazing that she was able to stay on the stand and not leap off of the stand. But we're definitely going to get into that as well. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this part. Definitely make sure you check out part 1 if you haven't had an opportunity, and also make sure that you keep your all notification bell on so you can catch the next part, which will be dropping in probably the next couple of hours. We're going to kind of get through these so that way I can make sure I can upload all those for you for your viewing, so you can be watching those throughout this evening or into tomorrow, and just getting you prepped for what took place in week 2 as we open up into week 3 starting tomorrow with new testimony and new witnesses. So with that, I appreciate you so much for being here for this part 2. Definitely, if you are new here, you haven't had an opportunity to hit the subscribe button, I hope that you will, and stay a long while. Just be part of the family. I would so love to have you. And for all of you that you're already part of the family, I thank you so much for your continued viewing and listening support. And so with that, I'm going to bid you do for this movie, yes, because it feels like a movie, but for this video. But I am most certainly will be back here shortly, so make sure you have those all notification bells so you will not miss it. Oh, and make sure you let me know what you're thinking about these elements and some of these things that is being shared with us in the comment section respectively below. I'd love to know your thoughts and what you think and how you feel the trial itself, from what you know and what you're gathering, how you feel it's going. And yeah, just let me know your thoughts. Definitely leave those down below. And with that, I will see you shortly. Bye.